Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Steve Gregorian, President and CEO of the Detroit Economic Club, and you are now part of DEC history. Why? It's our first ever DEC meeting right here at the fabulous Fox Theater. And what I love is you get to see what great performers have seen. What an amazing view from this standpoint, right? You're on the same stage as tremendous greats like Frank Sinatra, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, and even my favorite, Sherman Hemsley, who you know as George Jefferson, was right here on this stage too. All right, so we're going to have some fun today. After Howard and Gary, we're going to intro them in a minute. After they do their fireside chat, we're going to open it up to you for live audience questions with the microphone. We're also going to give away 2 pairs of tickets to upcoming concerts, courtesy of 313 Presents. Thank you, Howard. Be sure also, when we're done, to take the exclusive behind-the-scenes tour before you end up and join us in the lobby for food and beverage. And the generous folks at 313 Presents have a parting gift for you as well on your way out the door. A quick special welcome to all of our DEC members, and if you're not a DEC member yet, give me 10 seconds to convince you. Your next job, client, prospect, boss, friend is right here in this room. If you want to build your network and learn from thought leaders on our stage, we invite you to join the DEC today. You can sign up at econclub.org, and if you do so today, we'll give you a free ticket to any event through June, any DEC event. Don't think about Bruce Springsteen, think about DEC event, right? So you can see Megan in the lobby after the program. As we get started, I would just ask you, as I always do, just to silence your cell phone so we don't disturb the program. I also always want to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors and partners. We can never thank them enough. They are the reason we can do these fabulous programs like we have today. A quick plug on some upcoming events. We've got something, I think, for everybody in the next couple of months here, March and April for sure. Our next one that I want to let you know about, March 30th, we'll do a breakfast seminar with Dr. Barry Franklin from Corewell Health. He's got a book called GPS for Success, Skills, Strategies, and Secrets of Super Achievers. So take a look at our season lineup. Tons in March and April, including one we just announced today, April 5th. Ron Clark will be with us, so check them out on our website and get your tickets. You can also help us promote the DEC today. We want you to take lots of pictures and share them with your social media network using hashtag EconClub. All right, let's get on with the program. Our special guest today is Howard Handler, who's the president of 313 Presents, Detroit's premier live event company. Before I do that, however, our moderator today is a familiar name to those who follow the music industry. Gary Graff, just immediately to my right, is an award-winning music journalist based here in Detroit. He's a frequent contributor to major publications including Billboard and Guitar World. I, for one, and I told you this, Gary, was an avid reader of your work in the Free Press, where you wrote throughout the 80s and into the mid-90s. Gary's authored a number of books with some of those focusing on stars such as Neil Young, Bob Seger, his latest, just in February, I think, Alice Cooper, and your book on Bruce Springsteen, A to E to Z, I get that, is considered the definitive study of Bruce, who Howard has booked for the LCA at the end of this month. Gary's the co-founder and co-producer of the Emmy Award-winning Detroit Music Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a warm DEC welcome for Howard and Gary?
Thank you, sir.
It's all yours, Gary. Take it away.
Good afternoon. This beats working, doesn't it? Thank you for that, and welcome everybody. I wanted to let you know a little bit about our special guest today. Howard Handler is proof positive that good things come to those who eat your mother's oats like you're supposed to, and that'll make sense in a minute. As president of 313 Presents, Howard sets the tone and the agenda for all the noise of any volume that emanates from Little Caesars Arena and the Pine Knob Music Theater, the Meadowbrook Amphitheater and Michigan Lottery Amphitheater, concerts at Comerica Park, and everything that takes place right here in the fabulous Fox Theater. He's one part visionary, another part cheerleader, a brand builder, a change agent, and a consumer advocate. He keeps his eyes and ears wide open to make sure that he honors and appreciates the past, knows everything about what's going on right now, and is tuned into what's coming in the future. Taking the position at 313 was a homecoming for Howard, as he grew up in Southfield and even spent one summer as one of the orange-jacketed Rangers out on the Pine Knob security team, who I think kicked me out once sometime. That was 85, right? He studied business at the University of Michigan, where he met his wife, Wendy, and then sent their 2 children like a good maize and blue person does. After graduating, he started at the Quaker Oats Company in Chicago, where I told you the Mother's Oats reference would make sense. But his real passion led him to music and popular culture, which led him to New York and Lorne Michaels' Broadway Video and Saturday Night Live. From there, Howard moved on to Virgin Mobile, Major League Soccer, Madison Square Garden, the National Football League, and MTV, as well as working on the boards of Patty and the Drone Racing League and the University of Michigan Sports Advisory Board. Not bad for a guy who still fits into the same orange jacket he wore out at Pine Knob. Howard came back to Detroit, fired up for the potential of 313 Presents during December of 2019. We all know what happened a few months later. But Howard used that time to hone and sharpen a vision for the company so that when things began to open up again during the summer of 2021, it appeared not only that the company hadn't lost a step, but was actually more than a few steps ahead of where it had been. It was a comfortable, confident return that brought 1.2 million people to 313 events in downtown Detroit alone during 2022, a year that also saw the renaming of Pine Knob to, well, Pine Knob, which is what we all called it anyway. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody better versed in the impact of live entertainment on a city, and in this city in particular, than Howard Handler. And someone with surprisingly good taste, which someone like me is usually loath to say about somebody in a position like his. But I think after hearing him talk today, you'll agree that the primary engine of Metro Detroit's entertainment scene is in very capable hands. So I'm pleased to present my friend, Howard Handler. Invoices in the mail for that one.
I was going to say, man.
The best part of your story to me is that here's this hometown boy that left, made good, and then came home with enthusiasm. What was the allure? What brought you back to Detroit?
Yeah, 35-year boomerang story. You know, it was really a belief in the vision and potential of 313 Presents and the support of our 2 owners, Illich Sports and Entertainment, led by Chris McGowan, and Piston Sports and Entertainment, led by Arn Tellem. It was also a big belief in Detroit. I've always been a passionate Detroiter, even though I didn't live there. But really, moreover, a belief that we could be an economic engine, that we could bring some good to the community and deliver millions of people downtown and into southeastern Michigan.
So what is that impact? I wanted to get to this before we get into some of the sexier stuff. What is the impact that live events and live entertainment makes on a city?
Well, I think, first of all, we are in the, we're in the goose flesh business. We're in the OMG business of just turning people on and connecting them to something that they fundamentally love. We are also very much a result of our partnerships. We have partnerships with not only a lot of the organizations and businesses and leaders of Detroit, but we're proud of our partnerships that exist with Clarkston, Michigan and Independence Township, with Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan, and Sterling Heights in Macomb County. We are also ultimately an end result of partnerships with agents and tours and promoters like Live Nation. Our good friend Dave Clark is here, who's president of Live Nation. And above all, the artists, because if not for the artists, we wouldn't be here. So all in, all the people that we bring to Detroit and southeastern Michigan ultimately lead people to go to restaurants, stay in hotel rooms, to go to retail businesses. So it is the notion of the wow experience of going to shows as an economic engine.
And I think psychologically too, isn't there a matter of a city feels good about itself when you have these nights where Little Caesars is going, the Fox is going with something, maybe Comerica at the same time, and whatever else is going on down the block?
It is an amazing feeling. There are 60 people that work for 313 Presents. We're supported by about 80 or so different colleagues across Illich Sports and Entertainment and the Pistons. Add to that anywhere from another couple hundred to 1,000 people that actually work at the events. And so, you know, it's a bit of an army that delivers all of this. But ultimately, one of the things that I think that we all appreciate and understand as Detroiters is we have the greatest fans in the world. It's not hyperbole. I've traveled around the US and around the world, and people come out for our shows. You know, we put an Anita Baker show on sale. She wanted to play in Little Caesars Arena. We thought, you know, well, let's see how it does. Show sold out in, you know, several hours time. And we're used to that. We're used to this fervor and passion that people have for concerts and family shows and sporting events and the sports teams of Detroit. So it is part of people's identity, I think.
What made you an entertainment guy in the first place? Well, not so way back when, since you're in your 30s. But.
Yeah, I mean, like any good kid of the 60s and 70s, I proudly grew up in front of the television. And so I had a fascination with music and entertainment. I'll never forget, you know, running down to the basement and watching, you know, some of the early episodes of Saturday Night Live when MTV came on the air. But interestingly, growing up in Detroit, I didn't know anybody that was in the entertainment business. And so it came much later that I realized that you could actually get paid for doing this, which is cool.
Tell us about that one summer at Pine Knob.
Well, my sister Missy, who's here, was an usher, and she took pity on me and got me a job as a ranger. Now the Rangers were the security force. Security is a much more professional undertaking these days. And, you know, because they weren't really hiring like 125-pound security guards, you know, to work at Bob Seger and Neil Young shows. But, you know, I got to put on my orange shirt, carry around a gigantic flashlight, and intimidate mostly nobody. But I got to make some money, and we would go out, you know, early to get ready, and we'd get to hear sound checks. And, you know, I'll never forget what it felt like to be in that venue and to see all those artists. Crowds got a little crazier back in those days. You know, there's certainly some shows where, you know, we have crowd control issues that we work with, but somehow back then it seemed like the wild, wild west. So, you know, yes, we were a security detail, and some of the guys that, you know, played on the Michigan football team or the Michigan State football team were usually a little bit more effective than somebody like me.
So I'm picturing like a Pinky in the Brain situation. You were the brain.
Maybe, I don't know.
Coming back here and coming to 313, what did you bring from all those other jobs? What kind of philosophy and I guess context of live entertainment were you anxious to bring to the city?
Well, most of the jobs that I had had up to that point either had a national or a global focus. And I was excited to really focus on Detroit and southeastern Michigan. I felt like, you know, I was always a fan, always passionate, but really psyched to participate in this renaissance that we're all a part of. Living across media and sports and entertainment, I guess, brought a lot of relationships. But it also, you know, gave me a sense of how content is created, who's involved, and how to ultimately stage, you know, big events. But there was also quite a lot for me to learn. I had worked at the Garden in the entertainment division, and so I got some exposure to a big sophisticated booking enterprise and production and marketing and all the different things that we do to make a successful business. But I felt like I walked into like a master class in terms of what the 313 team was up to. Most entertainment organizations are usually responsible for one, maybe two venues. But in our case, it's 6 venues. We advise with the soundboard at the Motor City Casino. We're starting to look at, you know, some other territories. And so there was a certain amount that I could bring, but also a lot that I could learn, and, you know, just joining a fantastic dialed-in team.
So what are the things that you learned and have learned up to now that you're applying to what you do?
Well, you know, within 2 months, 3 months of coming on board, I mean, it's interesting. It's March 14th. I remember exactly where I was 3 years ago and what we were doing to really shut everything down. So, you know, I learned to take, you know, lemons and make lemonade, because we went from this jam-packed schedule, a record-breaking year in 2019, to nothing and scrambling and not having any idea whatsoever when we would come back. There was even a time when we were worried about if we would come back. So, you know, the first phase was just complete crisis management. Would we be able to hold on to our team? Could we hold on to our events and reschedule them? And then it turned into, okay, well, what can we do since we're not staging events? But it did give us the opportunity to really build a strategic plan and to vision out what life could be when we came back. And, you know, it's been 18 months and our business is on fire. Just in terms of big numbers, because this is the Detroit Economic Club. In 2022, the live entertainment business was a $12 billion business. In the early 2000s, it was a quarter of that. So there's a lot of opportunity. Artists make their money on the road. And, you know, we really learned how to behave as one company. You know, only a couple years before I came on board, you know, we were this joint venture where some people were thrown in from the Pistons, some people were thrown in from Olympia, who up to that point maybe knew each other a little bit, but were used to competing with each other. So we had to form a whole company with a culture and a set of values that were ours. But, you know, the learning was about what it would take to really operate, you know, as a great company. And 2022 was a record-breaking year even beyond 2019, and our business still runs hot. And so we're really trying to do the very best job that we can to provide access to these amazing moments and entertainment that reflects the soul of who we are as Detroiters.
Very interesting partnership situation you created.
Well, it's interesting. You know, one of the early brands that I got to work on at the Quaker Oats Company was Life Cereal. And Mikey, who wouldn't, you know, eat anything and loved Life Cereal, and was the star of a commercial that was, for some time, like the longest running commercial campaign, was not associated with the brand for, you know, 10, 15 years or something, yet people still kept asking about Mikey. That's what it always felt like with Pine Knob. Every artist would come on stage and say, hello, Pine Knob, and it's good to be back at Pine Knob. DTE Energy was a fantastic partner for 20 years, but naming rights are a bit of a life stage marketing strategy. You know, when DTE was coming together as a result of a merger, they wanted to establish their name. That was a really important thing to do. But 20 years later, people recognized DTE, and they were ready to move on from that relationship. You know, we would have loved for them to stick around because they were incredible partners, but, you know, we also understood, and that created an incredible opportunity for us. And we were able to accomplish two things. Number one, we were able to deliver a brand back to the community that loved it, that always waxed nostalgia about their memories, and it was, you know, ultimately a really winning moment. But from a commercial point of view, it was also an opportunity for us to kind of flip the model. So as opposed to having an entitled partner, what we were able to devise in partnership with Chris Kaufman and our friends on the partnership team at Olympia was the notion of supporting proud partners who would deliver this name back to the community. Trinity Health, Ally, and United Wholesale Mortgage, three Michigan-based companies who believed in this idea as much as we did. So it was phenomenal. Everybody generally won. The community got Pine Knob back, and you have three proud partners who believed in this vision and who now have a great platform to reach 600, 700,000 people every summer who come out to Pine Knob. And the artist basically said, hey, you know, that's what it was all along. Steve tells me that the video is ready to run.
So let's look at that. And speaking of the artist, very good segue there. Check out this video.
All right.
Well, we've always had such a great time in Detroit, and I'm really glad that it's Pine Knob again, because it kind of always was.
You know, this place, we'd played it so much over the years, and every time we'd come here, we were welcomed like family.
People are always excited to see Detroit on this tour itinerary, and then if you're lucky enough to play a place that holds so many people and stuff, you know, that's an added bonus.
I think the Detroitans, they know that, and they know they've got like one of the best buildings, and they're proud of it.
What I like about this place is I like the crowd that comes to this place. Performers, when they're coming through, they know certain areas that are really good fans of live music. And this place always had a great following like that, and it was like there was always a great crowd here.
Pine Knob was always this very special place. I think it was one of the first larger shed outdoor venues that we were able to play in the 70s. And the Detroit fans embraced us.
I like the fact also that the configuration of the pavilion is such that the people are right there, man.
Yeah.
It's like the war zone.
Since 1972, it's been a place where friends, fun, and music all come together. As we celebrate 50 glorious summers, it still is. Welcome back to Pine Knob Music Theater.
So, how did you go about achieving both embracing the heritage that Pine Knob carried with it, but also making it a contemporary venue and I guess a new experience?
Well, we went through a proper brand development, logo, revitalization exercise. We worked with Jamie Michelson and his team at SMZ. I think Jamie's here somewhere. And, you know, we did the work. And this was something that I could apply from some of the brands that I was lucky enough to work on in earlier parts of my career. But, you know, we talked to every constituent. We did the research. You know, we tried to reimagine what the Pine Knob brand ID would be today. I mean, it's really interesting because some people are like, oh, you know, why don't you just, you know, take the old logo? What was really interesting is people didn't want the old logo. They wanted something that reflected, you know, how we feel today. And so, you know, it was the result of a really good process. We even, you know, got some artist input. You know, our friend Ed from Bare Naked Ladies is very articulate about what he was looking for and what he thought would work, and I think that's the way to pull it off.
Were you surprised at how well it all went over, or did you know that it would be as popular as it was?
You know, we thought that it would be something that people would appreciate, but honestly, we were kind of blown away by the whole thing. I mean, I remember driving around a couple of days after we made the announcement, and Ann DeLisi, who is Gary's sometimes partner in crime on DET, was just taking calls from people reflecting on their memories. And it was endless, and it was moving. There were certain things that, you know, people finding the love of their life, or, you know, reflecting on, you know, somebody who they had lost, or an incredible memory of a show that any of us would die to see. And so it just kind of tapped into something really, really powerful. The thing about 50 years is like, you know, which generation? You know, yes, there are plenty of you know, people that remember the 70s and the 80s, but, you know, there were 3 other decades, and all of those memories. And I guess the ultimate success was being recognized as the #1 amphitheater in the world for 2022.
So from outdoors to indoors, as we noted before, we're sitting in history here. Not just the first economic club meeting here, but this place is, you know, probably the most historic venue in Detroit. Where does it fit into the 313 corral?
This is such a legendary, iconic venue. I'll come at it from a couple of different directions. It is the second largest theater in the United States, only second to Radio City Music Hall. So there's 4,900 seats in this building. It was built in 1928 as a movie house, you know, for talking pictures. If everybody remembers or knows that there used to be silent movies. And so it was a really ambitious undertaking. And later, Tony Serra, who's the director of operations here at the Fox Theater, is the very best kind of docent and tour guide, and will tell you so much about the history of this place. But on this very stage that you are sitting on right now, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Abbott and Costello, for anybody that used to wake up on Sunday morning and watch those shorts, But you name it. I mean, you know, it's interesting because it's 60 years since the Motortown Review was on this stage. So that's Little Stevie, The Temptations, Martha and the Vandellas, Marvin Gaye on this stage. I'll also kind of put it into context in terms of what it means to Detroit. The Fox Theater fell into, you know, a great state of disrepair. Mike and Marion Ilitch made a very bold move in, you know, 1987 when they bought this theater, and after a lot of investment and many, many months of renovation, opened this thing up in 1988, and that was Smokey Robinson. You had Hall & Oates, Frank, Dean, Liza. So they really opened it up with, you know, all the glamour and all of the glitz that one would expect from one of the great proscenium theaters of the world. But, you know, the way that it fits into 313 Detroit is this was the catalyst for what we know today as the District Detroit. It's what led to Ford Field, Comerica Park, Little Caesars Arena, all of the development that continues, and, you know, the Ilitch companies and related, Steve Ross, are partnering up on trying to build 10 more buildings. And none of that would have really happened had it not been to make this investment in the Fox Theater. We do about 140, 150 shows a year. There'll be 400,000 people that come through the doors of this theater every year. It's a gathering place for all Detroiters. I think that every Detroiter feels something special and has great memories of the Fox Theater. So this really is the crown jewel of Detroit, and it's, you know, it's strangely our lowest capacity venue, and it's an entry point for artists who are really ready to break out and have a great commercial success. But, you know, there's a very warm, you know, emotional connection that everybody at 313 has to this venue.
So what's an average show day like for you? Do you get to, do you do much hobnobbing or, you know, dining with the stars, or sharing the massage tables, or what do you get to do?
Yeah, it's all fun and games. You know, I think that I have the easiest job. You know, what typically happens is the production team at 313 Presents has one or two representatives that are usually out there and meeting the trucks that show up at the loading dock at about 4:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning. And they are there for the rest of the day, helping them unload the trucks, do the rigging, set up sound, lights, everything, get the dressing rooms together, and, you know, allow a traveling circus to come into town and to play for 2 or 3 hours. There's a large staff here at the Fox Theater that administrates and worries about the operations. They oversee a staff of maintenance, ticket takers, people that do crowd control, security. You know, for a show at the Fox, it could be 100 to 200 people. For a show across the street at Comerica Park, it could be 1,000 people. You know, our booking team looks after the promoter and you know, the artist and the tour themselves. We have our marketing and publicity people. We have an event accountant that's, you know, kind of looking after the finance and will settle up at the end of the evening. And then, you know, the show itself is something that I think we all love and understand, but everybody's here breaking things down and, you know, generally leaves at 1 o'clock, you know, maybe sometimes a little bit earlier. And so it's a business of very hard work and long hours, and the 313 team, the team at the Fox Theater, everybody at Illich Sports and Entertainment, and the Pistons, and the whole ecosystem of people, our promoter partners like Live Nation and others, work very hard to make all this possible.
Excellent. All right, I think we're ready to open it up for some audience questions. Well, there will be a methodology to that.
Thank you, guys. Fascinating stuff. How about a round of applause for Howard and Gary? All right, so now we're going to hear from you. Matt, wave wildly. Wilder than that, Matt. Let's go. All right, if you got a question, raise your hand. Matt will come see you. We just ask you to stand up, state your name so we can all love you, and ask away.
Thank you. So my name is Olivia Goebel. I'm the president of SEBA at Wayne State University. My question to you is, how do you think the pandemic has permanently changed the sports and entertainment industry or affected it in some way?
Olivia, that's a great question, and love having Wayne State represented here today. Our business has changed in a lot of ways, probably some ways that, that we're still trying to figure out. I think the most immediate changes were we all worked really hard to go to touchless forms of interaction, so nobody's playing around with cash anymore. We are also, just kind of much more conscious of ventilation. All our ventilation systems were upgraded. The tours themselves work very hard, and in some cases they even have compliance officers to make sure that as tours move from city to city to city and are in hotel rooms and dressing rooms and interacting with all different types of people, getting on planes and stuff like that, that they're testing on a regular basis, that they're staying safe. So there's just a whole bunch of different things that we've done operationally to make things better for our guests.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can I just add on to that real quick? Can you maybe talk about, unfortunately, we live in a world where security is so important everywhere. How has that changed, security for the concert goers and for the artists?
I think security has always been a priority for our industry. I mean, I made jokes about, what it was like in the late 70s, but I'd say in the past 25 years or so, our business has become very sophisticated. With our business, I think we have true bleeding edge security protocols and a team led by Rick Fenton and Mike Hartnett, who are both, some of the best in the game. Mike Hartnett spent, years with the FBI. Rick Fenton here in the city of Detroit overseeing Wayne County Sheriffs. I'm actually participating in a tabletop exercise tomorrow. We take advantage of all the latest technology to make sure that people are safe. I think that we are successful when that's something that none of you guys ever think about. It may not be fun going through metal detectors and stuff like that. It could feel like an inconvenience. I know that in some cases people don't like the fact that they can't bring their bags and stuff like that anymore, but it's just led to a much better experience for everybody. So it's a huge priority, and it will always be a priority for our venues and for our owners.
Thank you for that. Yes. We've got a question here.
My name is Mark Kallert. Curious, how do you guys partner with your Live Nation and others to prevent price gouging or scalping of secondhand tickets so that folks that are local can go to shows on a cheaper dime?
Have you got a couple hours for that one?
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, that's a great question. I think that there are a lot of misconceptions and a very big disconnect between a lot of the complaints and the pain that's out there and actual solutions. I mean, right now there's DOJ investigations, congressional hearings, there's consideration of kind of state by state legislation, and people are barking up the wrong tree. I guess it is something that we could do like a whole session on, but I'll say a couple of things. I talked about this earlier. The live entertainment business has quadrupled in the course of less than 20 years. Fundamentally, for a lot of shows, demand exceeds supply. So I'll give you an example. Adele did a 5-show run at Madison Square Garden, I think like 2019?
17, maybe.
2007? No.
18.
Okay,
We'll
18.
split the difference.
Okay. So 100,000 tickets are available. 4 million people tried to buy tickets, okay? So think about how many people are unsatisfied, okay? Anytime you have like a disconnect between supply and demand, there will be unscrupulous people who turn that heartache into profit, right? That's where scalpers in the secondary market comes into play. What we try to do as an industry, we do a lot of shows with Live Nation. They're a very important partner of ours, but we also work with about 30 other promoters. We work very carefully with the promoter to make sure that the artist gets to set the prices, right? The artists are the ones that set the prices. When a show goes on sale, unfortunately, the secondary market, scalpers, brokers, have invested so much money in technology that there are bots that go in and pretend that they're fans. And they suck up all the tickets, and then they turn around and they price up the tickets at these crazy exorbitant levels. That's very upsetting to an artist, right? We're putting a show on sale. The Cure, hold on, I gotta look at dates. The Cure is at Pine Knob on June the 13th. They are doing something with Ticketmaster called Verified Fan that ensures that their fans are the ones that are buying the tickets, and that those tickets, even if they're transferred, can only be transferred at face value. We'll see how it goes. It's really, really hard work, and the technology that exists can be really insidious. And so, this is where we're at. I don't know if legislation is going to correct things. We'll see. But I think that the more that we can put the artists in the driver's seat and let them set the prices, let them create the rules of engagement for the secondary market. It would be great if Washington enforced the Bot Act more aggressively, because bots just don't affect our business. They affect a lot of different businesses. We'll see if we can chip away at it. And hopefully that helps provide a little bit of perspective, but that's a very, very hot topic, so I appreciate you asking that question.
One thing that's changed considerably too, and as you mentioned, the development of technology, is it's happening instantaneously. So where something would go on sale, and then over a period of weeks, the secondary market would kick in with the higher priced tickets. Now you have it happening immediately. That Bruce Springsteen was the most dramatic case, where a bot would register as a verified fan and have the ticket up for sale so quickly that the next verified fan was looking at a $4,000 ticket. And just like that, so that's really made it a different kind of issue.
Yeah, and I can't help but want to build on this a little bit more, since this is like an economically minded audience. But there's also a practice called speculative tickets. And it's just a real bummer for fans. So if you saw the Super Bowl, U2 is going to play at a new venue in Las Vegas called the Sphere. That'll be really cool, right? U2 in some new venue that's got all this technology. There hasn't been a single show announced. Nobody knows what the ticket prices are. They don't know what the seating manifest will be in terms of where the seats are and how many seats. Yet, if you go online right now, you could buy U2 tickets. But who are you buying them from? And they really don't have those tickets. They're just taking your money, and you might never see it again. And right now, anybody can do that. People can get away with that. So, you know, this is all on the backs of the artists. And if not for the artists, you know, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't have a business. So those are the types of things that need to get, you know, wiped out and hopefully legislated.
Howard, we are economically minded, but we also like to attend cocktail parties. So can you give us any G-rated stories, or Gary, of performers that you've been around that we can share at our next cocktail party?
G-rated?
I was going to say, no.
Okay, PG.
I'm not sure there's even PG. You have something?
Okay. Does everybody like Cheap Trick? Any Cheap Trick fans in the house? Yes? Yes. Some of the 313 people are like raising it. Yes. So one of the senior guys on our team, a guy named Elmer Straub, who I believe is here, has a relationship with Robin, and he was kind enough to get on a Zoom and fire up the 313 team during like the worst part of the pandemic. And we were just talking about music and, you know, old Cheap Trick stories and stuff like that. It was really fun when they came back through town. They played at Pine Knob this summer. Who did they open for?
Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart, right. So Cheap Trick came to town, and we got to get together with Robin and, you know, have a lot of fun. We didn't trash any hotel rooms or drive motorcycles into swimming pools or anything like that. But I was able to thank him personally for, you know, firing up the 313 team at a time that they needed it the most. So is that G or PG?
G.
That's pretty G.
Right, cool.
Gary,
So
come on, give us something PG.
So I learned not to drink with Keith Richards. In terms of don't try this at home. He walks in usually in the afternoon or evening with what he calls his breakfast, his bacon and eggs. The bacon is Jack Daniels, the eggs is Rebel Yell. And the mistake wasn't letting him pour me a drink. The mistake was letting him continue to pour a drink, and you can't keep up. I mean, he just, whatever chemistry is in that man's body, it just absorbs it in a way that's not human, and certainly isn't the way that my body absorbs it. So that was, I was recording an interview, and, you know, I kind of turned the machine on, like, how bad was this? And it was okay. But yeah, don't try this at home.
Great stories, both of you. I think we've got time for one more question from the audience.
Hi, Mario Ficini, Expert Authority Effect Publishing, and my question for you is, with all the great shows you've put on, what's been your favorite?
Ooh, wow. Just one. God, do I really have to pick? Oh, man. Okay. Well, I would say the SZA show that we did a couple Fridays ago. She is starting to hit that apex in her career. Little Caesars Arena was completely sold out, and I have never seen a group of happier fans. It was kind of late teen, early 20, mostly female, and there was just something very magical happening in terms of how she connects and her message and what she means. And that was definitely an out-of-body experience as an observer. SZA. S-Z-A. SZA. Yeah. Contemporary kind of, it's hard to, well, you'd be better at categorizing an artist like SZA.
It's a contemporary R&B pop with some hip hop thrown in. So it's kind of like the next Lizzo.
She could be the next Rihanna. She could be the next Beyonce. It's so much fun seeing an artist on the ups. That's always the coolest thing, that you got to see that artist open for or in a little club. That's always the thrill.
Gary, how about you? Do you have you've seen a million.
Yeah, of
Two,
all of them, but
three.
you know, I'll keep it to one that was under the 313 Presents umbrella right here. David Byrne, the American Utopia tour, which some of you may have seen on HBO. They did the Broadway. When they went and did it on Broadway, they did it as a special, but that was a life-changing night.
Yeah, you mentioned, quickly, and then we'll get to the lightning round. You mentioned Keith Richards, and you and I were talking earlier. The Rolling Stones, many of them are in their 70s and 80s, and they're still touring, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what current young artist might we be seeing still touring in 30 to 40 years?
This is the $100 million question for this man's industry and for Dave Clark out there's industry is who are the new heritage acts, and nobody knows yet or is getting a beat on it. I mean, is Rival Sons going to rise to an arena level and then to a level where they can maintain that, or will Pop Evil from here in Michigan do that, or the smart money I think will really be on some of the hip hop acts, and because they seem to be building loyal audiences that are going with them album to album that the audience isn't buying, but is staying with them through that. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, so I'll just take a wild guess. I think that John Mayer is a quality artist, guitar player, singer who is likely to age well. He's been so versatile. And I also think Kendrick Lamar could be around for a really long time.
Mayer's the new Barry Manilow.
All right.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up with the lightning round to get to know you just a little bit better.
Do we win anything?
You do not. No, you win our love and affection. So
You win a
we'll
car.
start with Howard. Something on your bucket list.
I would like to go to the Galapagos someday.
Gary.
Oh, and entertainment-wise, I'd love to see the Beatles perform.
That'd be amazing.
That would be.
Sticking with the music theme, just one of your favorite songs. It doesn't have to be the favorite. One of your favorite songs.
Wichita Lineman perform. I mean, it's been covered by everybody, but the original Glenn Campbell performance, written by the great Jimmy Webb. That song to me is, that's a good song.
Just One Victory by Todd Rundgren. Just a beautiful, itchy hair.
Good, love it. Howard, your very first paying job.
I was a locker room attendant at the Southfield Athletic Club. Does anybody remember the Southfield Athletic Club? The town center in Southfield. An honest paying job. And my boss was Sheldon Yellen.
Oh, Belfort.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. How about you, Gary?
Mine was being the maintenance boy at an older cousin's women's clothing store, which for a 12-year-old boy, no, I'm not ashamed to say, I knew the angle of all the mirrors in the dressing rooms. It was a wonderful year and a half.
Okay, we're going beyond PG now with that one.
There was no description there, just inference.
The stalker law was created.
That was.
Music theme. You get to pick any musician or band for a private concert in your backyard for family and friends. Who is it?
It would be the Mavericks. I don't know if anybody knows the Mavericks, but they are a rockin' band that covers blues, country, Tex-Mex, rock, you name it. Raul Malo's the lead singer, reincarnation of Roy Orbison. I love the Mavericks.
And he's right about that. I would also go with Todd Rundgren, myself, who, just a great repertoire and a lot of it, so we could keep him there for a few hours.
Describe Detroit in one word, Howard.
Soul.
Gary.
Badass.
Badass. Love it. All right, we're going to finish up like we always do. Advice to your 25-year-old self, Howard.
Wow. I would say that our journey is a marathon, not a sprint. Another way of saying it is through the greatest coach and life leader, John Wooden, who said, "Be quick, but don't rush." Take your time to accomplish your goals and to win the arguments and to come up with incredible, cool ideas. But take care along the way, build trust, build relationships. There's plenty of time.
Gary.
I would tell that kid to pay attention to your spelling classes 15 years before, because you'd be surprised how handy that will come.
That's terrific. Guys, you've been amazing. How about a round of applause for Howard and Gary? Thank you, guys.
All right.
Nice job. We appreciate your time, talents. Thanks for the opportunity, Howard. You and I had lunch a few months ago, and we said, let's do this, and you had some great ideas. So we appreciate that.
Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
to you and your whole team, and Emily Brandt and the private events team, and Kim Klein and Carly Summers and everybody. And you will thank Tony Serra for the tour that you are about to enjoy.
Yeah,
So.
thank you. I'd like to add thanks to my team and to Howard's team and the Fox team here. So thank you again to all of you. One last round of applause for Howard and Gary. Great. You'll be in. We'll end up in the reception. We'll see you there after the tour. Thanks, everybody.